We'll start. I will mute all and we'll start. All right, I have a photo in Photoshop and you go up to filter, neural filter, and it brings up all these dialogues on the right-hand side. All the features at the top, you see at the very top says all filters. Click on all filters. You could also click on wait list and tell Adobe what you would like to have. But the ones at the top, and you notice that skin smoothing has a little cloud with a down arrow, which means you need to download it. So you would click on that to download. You'll see as I go through some of these. The ones below are beta, and they are not downloaded to your computer. They are sitting in the cloud. So when you go to use these, which I will, you are operating in the cloud. So if you see the little new, N-E-W, you click on that for any of these and it will download for you. At least it downloads the beginning part so you can start working on things. So let's just go through some of them. Here's the depth blur that I used on the little dog. And let me work through a number of photos. So click on Smart Portrait, click on the little circle to set it up. On the right-hand side, you see the portrait of the mannequin and various capabilities. So I'll close this off. So you see you have featured, expressions, global, settings, and you can tell Adobe whether or not you're satisfied with the results. On the left-hand side, you see the portrait, and it shows you where the face that they've determined. Click on featured. You can make this happiness or sadness. If you move it to the right, it makes it happy. Let's see what it will do with a mannequin. Down at the lower portion, you see it's processing in the cloud. And I've found that if you bring in a fairly large image, it takes a long time to process. Oh, here's what it did. I can show down in the lower left corner of the box, I can click on the show original and then click it again, shows you the change. I'm not real happy with what it did with the eyebrow on the top, but this is a mannequin, but look what it did with the smile. Here's something amusing to me, is that it actually puts teeth in there. Amazing, and changes the eyes. So let's bring it back a little bit. See if it handles, no, see it changed the mouth. Up on the right-hand side of the dialog box, it says reset parameters. So I'll reset it and let's try a little bit of a smile and see if that messes up the face as much. Yeah, it actually changed the eyebrow more than it changed that. Now I'll show it to you on a portrait. This is a mannequin, but let's take it the other way and make it a little sadder, a little bit more. You realize that this filter, let me click this, will start to chew up a lot of your time. Facial age, I'll get to that in a little bit here. Eye direction, let's do eye direction and see how it changes the eyes. You can move it to the right or you can move them to the left. See, the eyes actually move really well over to the right. And if I combine that with a little bit of happiness, just don't like what it's doing to the eyebrow. We'll cancel this. Jen Cardinale wanted to know if it would work on a mannequin. So she sent me the mannequin and I brought that in to see. Open this image. I think it's a very nice image. Here's the aspect of size. You'll notice what I've done is to make them 5 by 7 at 100 resolution. That's not a requirement. I just did that because if it's a larger file, it takes longer to process. So for the class, I thought it'd be better to be able to process it relatively fast since it's working from the cloud for most of these. So you have Smart Portrait again. We'll go to some of the others in a minute, but let's do Smart Portrait. Click that on and do happiness. Move it over quite a bit and see how that works. Now this is a photo, not of a mannequin. Let's see what it does with the eyebrows. You see the processing at the bottom, processing in the cloud. All the beta features are processed in the cloud. The upper ones, you can see which ones are in the cloud and which are not. I believe that since this is mostly beta, that they will start to change that as they go forward even more. But look how neat that was. Let me show you the before and the after. Before, look at her mouth and her eyes, and even up here in her forehead. They put in teeth, they opened her eyes, they changed the forehead a little bit. What a difference. Let's try age. Let's take her and take her in the reverse order. Change the smile a little bit and the eyes, but it didn't change the skin much because she has such smooth skin in this image. But I took it to the right to age her more, see what it did with the hair and the face. Got a little bit of a groove in her face here, changed the eyes a little bit. Realize you'll have fun doing this stuff. Let's try expressions. Let me go back, reset it, and try expressions. Just happiness. Yes, good. Surprise. That way up, see what it does. Oh, yes, look at that, how that changed that. Let's look at the before and after on that. So even the eyes, it really does show an expression of surprise. So I'll reset this and try anger. And you can do combinations as I showed you, but I love that. Look at their bottom lip. That's great. Global. Reset. Head direction. Move it to the right. Actually moves her head to the right. Want her looking the other way so that you look into her face as you're coming in from the left. Whoop, that sort of scrunched up her mouth. That didn't work very well. So it depends on what original image you have and how you change them. And you can change the light direction. I'll do that on another one here. Settings, retain unique details. I have that pushed all the way up so that when I would say okay with whatever I do, it keeps all those unique details of the change. Let's play with a different image. There's the old guy, the filter. Also, I changed the size of the image so that it would work a little better. I can't show that to you right now, but I changed the size of that. I have the Smart Portrait. I'll turn that on. Facial age. I'll move that way over. See what it does with the face. It's processing. You see at the bottom of the image in the screen. It takes a little more time to work on this because it works all over the aspect of the face, and there's a lot to work on here. Did fairly well. Let's look at before and after. Before, after, did a pretty good job. Let's make his face as eye direction. Look to the right. A little bit. Expression. Happiness. Didn't change much on this face because his mouth really isn't that much showing. So it matters as to what you're bringing in. On global, head direction, we'll try that. It moved it slightly. Again, if you want to do more, you say, click OK, then come back and save it the way you want it to be, save as, and then bring it in again and see what happens. And since I have it here, now let's just take it back in and see if they'll assume this is the starting new again. Click that. Expressions. Happiness. And it's processing. Down at the bottom, you see it's processing. A little tougher on this one. I'll bring in a different image next. Yeah, that worked really well. Look at this. Let's look at the before and after. I did a good job on this one. Click OK. I'll save him. I've tried doing a painting to see if it would work well that way. So I'll bring this in. See how well it recognizes that that's a face. Go to filter. Nora filter. Pick up the face. Go to smart portrait. Let's try happiness. It's processing at the bottom. You notice it says in the cloud. I'll mention that again, because they have not, all of these that are in beta are not downloaded to your computer as part of the software for Photoshop. Interesting how the teeth came out. Here's the before, that's the after. Not sure I would like that much. So let's just reset it. Come up to the upper right and just reset. Let's try expression. Let's try anger and see what happens with that. But you get the idea of playing with these. Love that. The lip curls a little bit. That's great. But you can do it even on an image that has somewhat of a face in it so that they recognize it as a face. I want to play with a very high key image. Image size. You notice it's 300. Just for today, I'll make it 100 by 6. Because it just takes time to process it if it's bigger. We'll go into neural filter. I'll move the photo out of the way. I can't stop it. No, come on. There we go. And we'll do smart portrait. I wanted to see what we're doing that. But before we do that, let's try colorize. No, let's put an expression on it. Let's put a little bit of happiness into it. And it's processing. And here's one where if you do the facial age, there's not much change going to happen in this image. But certainly made it happy looking, added more of her teeth and kept the original part of the teeth. It's very good. Open happiness in her eyes. Very nice. Now, to go to colorize at the top, one of the features, colorize, turn that on. Because I haven't cleared anything in the upper right, it will work on that image, and it did. And you over on the right-hand side, you have various options. You can scroll down and color artifact reduction, just play with these things, noise reduction. But I wanted to see what these drop-downs were. So, okay, let's just click on one of them, retro highlight. Ah, that changed many things about it. Retro bright. Ah, made it too bright because the image was bright to begin with. More blue. And you see what's happening in the eye. But you now have the ability to keep changing various aspects of a black and white image to a color image. Take it back. Here is the original. Click on colorize, and you can pick any of these drop downs, but you also could just change colors that may be in there just by changing one of the sliders. So you can create a color aspect. You can just play with how you want the colors to look on the final image. Don't like that, of course. Could go the other way. Try that. Always can look at the before, after. You're going to hate me because it's going to take up hours of your time as you play these. Okay, let's go to one here. I'm going to show you the dog. So I thought, oh, maybe it will change the face of the dog. Okay. No, okay. We'll do a number of options on this one. Let's even try the colorize first. And we have different ways that you can process just to change. You see what it's done with the light in the back area and the nose. And but you have all these various features that you can do to play on it. You don't want to do that with colorize on this as much as what I wanted to do was down at the bottom, depth blur. So I click on that. And over on the right-hand side, it says click to edit the focal point. So I'll click on the image. I clicked on the nose, and you see that it has blur around it and sharp on the face. And move some sliders, and it made the head more sharp, and it reduced some of the blur around. Take it back the other way. You see the blur coming up from the bottom. If I click on the top of his head, let me clear it. Click on the image, it's over here on the right-hand side, and it's not, apparently not doing it for me, but that's the blur, depth of blur. And you can adjust the blur strength, if you want haze or any of the colors, all kinds of sliders to work on this image. I tried using, be sure I have this cleared, I tried using the portrait. Oh, maybe it'll do something with the dog. So it recognized the face. And when I click on happiness and move it over, it works. It does its thing. It doesn't recognize the face in the same way that it recognizes a human face. So they have some work to do. You'll see as it changes this face of the dog a little bit. In fact, it didn't do much at all. See the size. It's small. Let's try working on it again. Let's recognize that section. And I want happiness. Well, let's go to expressions. Happiness. It's out there. And yesterday when I was playing with these and did this, it actually changed the face. It tries to put, as it does with the human, some teeth and change the lips. And of course, it doesn't have that with the dog. So it doesn't do a real interesting change. If you see, not much change at all. It really doesn't know what to do with this photo. The blur works, but having the face recognition doesn't work. I brought this image in, as you'll see when it comes up, so that I could see different ways to work on this. As I brought it down from the internet, I realized I wanted to crop it a little bit. Check the size. 6 by 6. Good. Did the portrait for happiness, and I did head direction and change it. So I'll take that in and do it, but I wanted to show you head direction, portrait happiness, see what it did with the mouth and the eyes. Turn that on, turn it on. You notice it changes the head structure a little bit also because of the way the head would change based on having a smile and turning the head to the left. So we'll start with the original of a normal filter. Work on portrait. Let's try the happiness. I can go the other way also. I'll do the processing at the bottom. I should have checked size before I did this to see what size it is. Here's that aspect of it. And here's one that the face is very young face. And if I do a facial age, it doesn't really change a lot. It sort of changed the overall look of this portion of the portrait here and the way the hair is a little bit. Hair thickness. Before, after. Often it may not be the way you want it to end up, but that is what we're having. Let's take it the other way. Not happiness. Oh yeah. Before, after, because I still have the other features. So if I come up to the upper top right, click on that to set it back to the original, and then do anger. It won't be changing it based on the previous changes. So multiple ways of changing a portrait, starting from the beginning or starting from things you've already changed. Let's change the light direction. Light is coming in sort of straight on. Now it's coming in from the right. And it's put a little shadow on the side of the face, highlights on the right-hand side. Before, from the left side, now to the right side. So I'll take it and move it to the other side. Edit process. Now it's emphasized that even more from the original. to the left side light coming in. Let's play with colorized a little bit with the idea of not changing the color as much as seeing what it will do by taking one of these drop downs and see what it does. Retro fade. Well, that's interesting. Reset it. Dark. A different image. This young gal, not happy looking at all. But, oh, that's perfect. Do the neural filter, and we'll do the portrait. And that on happiness. See how well it will process. Create the change in the eyes and the change in the mouth. You see it processing. Now that made quite a difference. There's the before, there's after. Look at even the eyes, very subtle change in the eyebrows, in the forehead, and of course, the smile and the teeth. Given that, you go to expressions and add a little bit of surprise on top of the smile. So it lessened the smile, and the eyes are a little different from the original to there. Take it back. Let's do global settings. Here's one, facial age. Really? She's a young gal, not going to do much at all to that, but it did. You see the crease in the forehead, the crease along the side of the mouth. The hair quality has changed. We'll go back. The original and the color. If we go to the left, which would be to make her younger, she is very young, but you see it smoothed out her face a little bit more, and the hair. Brought this one in. A striking woman. Guys are really special. This is how I changed it. That's the original. I changed the direction of the head, and you see what it did with the hand. I'll do it in a minute, but you see what it did. It didn't know what to do with the fingers. So I changed that, but you really would need to put a mask on the image, paint with black, bring the original back to the change that you made elsewhere. That would work. That doesn't work. The idea of taking it from that to that, let's play with it. Here's the original. Take it into the neural filter. Even if we play with colorize, again, to do these presets that they have, see what it does to it. A slight change. Reset. Go back to the smart filter. And portrait. And here's where I did the happiness. And it changed the face because her hand is so close to the face. It was working on that aspect. You see it's within the blue square. Actually, at this time it did fairly well. Good looking smile. In the teeth, change the eyes. Opened up the highlights in the forehead. The hand looks good. That's very nice. We age her. Brought a little white into her hair. Didn't change the skin that much. Changed lips some. Take it back the other way. Let's make her even younger. See what happens. Before, after. Good-looking woman with a smile. It's very nice expressions. How about surprise?
Hey, John, I have a question on editing there.
Yes.
If you made a change to the smile on the lips, could you go into Photoshop and make the teeth whiter or the lips redder using the
Absolutely. Yes. Let me do that for you. Yes, indeed. Here's how you would do it. Let's do this so we get the teeth back. Click OK. Oh, well, now that I have that, let me fix the hand because it bothers me a lot. Zoom in. Now, if I wanted to brighten the teeth more and or change the color of the, not change the eyes, but brighten the eyes. If I want to make the eyes bluer, I would use the sponge tool and have it on saturate, maybe at 35. Just bring out a little bit more color in the eyes. And you see, I also have vibrance clicked on, so it makes it brighter as I am coloring it. Maybe her lips a little bit. No, it's a little too much. Now, if I wanted to whiten the teeth, I could do it a number of ways. One is I could dodge and just dodge the teeth, but then I may be overlapping something else. So if I make a selection and I use the quick selection tool, that's one way. I'll show you another way in a second. And just select the teeth. Once I have the teeth selected, I can do a number of things. One is to, of course, use the dodge tool and just work in there, or I can add a levels and bring the white slider in, and I can make those as bright as I want to make them, but you don't want to lose detail. And you see that it's a little brighter on this side because the light is coming in from that side. But if you want to change that, click on that, click on the dodge tool, go up to highlights. I want to bring the dancing ants back. So if you hold the control key and click on the mask from the levels, because it was controlling that area, it brings the dancing ants back. Now I click on the image where the pixels are located, and I can brighten that right side. If I feel that it's yellowish, I could take the sponge tool on desaturate and desaturate that area as much as you want to do it. But you would want to make a selection on that portion so that you don't overlap onto the lips. So it's quite a difference from turning these off there to there. Any other questions on this one?
How did you fix the hand, John?
Let me do it again for you. When you have two images, two layers, each with pixel layers, and they are identical. I'll put a mask on the upper layer. And whenever I paint with black over in the toolbar at the bottom, black in the foreground color, get the paintbrush, and wherever I paint on the mask, it will turn off the pixels of that layer. So I just came over here and started to turn off the pixels from that upper layer because that's where the hand was smudged. And if I hold the shift key and turn this off, if I hold the shift key and click on the mask, it turns the mask off. So you can see where I painted, it's there. If I hold the Alt key and click on the mask, you see that's where I painted in order to paint over her hand. Does that answer it, Joel?
Yes, thank you.
Found this little boy. I thought, okay, what will it do to the little boy? Here's the original. You see where the eyes are. I wanted to see what it would do. I'll do it, but I wanted to see what I did. I tried that and tried to turn the head. And when I did that, it didn't know, turn the eyes, it didn't know what to do with that portion of the eye. So here's another aspect of putting a mask on it, painting with black where that eye was to bring back the original, and it changed this one. But it actually scrunched it. It didn't change it in the set. It actually moved it into the upper right portion of his eye area. So it made it smaller there to here. And the mask allowed me to keep the original eye there. Let's play, show you what it does. So I have the original image. And I thought it would be interesting just to see what it will do with that kind of face looking that way and even turning. So we'll try that also. There's the area that we'll concentrate on, that area. Do the portrait. Head direction. I move it to the left. See what it does as it tries to move the head in a direction that doesn't seem to work on this image. Taking a little more time because it's trying to figure out what to do. And you see what it did? Boy, that didn't work at all. And you think, well, maybe it was because we tried it too hard, head direction way, way up there. Even if you take it to a little bit. So there are some of the features that you have won't always work with the image that you're bringing into it. And it's, in this case, I think it's because that image, it can't really recognize the full frontal face. I think that right now, this feature, this neural filter with portraits really needs to have the full face coming up to it.
John, Jürgen, does that work with two people, a couple close to each other?
I haven't tried it, but as long as they're close enough that that square, when it comes around it, fits them, then that's what they would modify. But what I'd be concerned about, and I'll play with that and let you know, Jürgen.
Thank you.
That you have two sets of eyes, two mouths. So how would it know what to do? I'm not sure. But here's this black and white image, and I took it in and colorized it. Oh, that looks pretty good. So let's play with the black and white image and use colorization. Anytime you have a black and white image, just take it in and colorize. And I think it does a very good job on colorize. I had a lot of highlights down on the right-hand side. Here, no detail. So it couldn't find place to put pixels. And again, you can do these drop downs and do different presentations of color. But I think it's really does a fairly good job overall. Just none special color and on a pure black and white. And I've done it on scenics and other things, and it works really well. How will it work? We have an image that the head is already turned. So you can see the size of this. So we don't spend a lot of time on it. Make it 100. 5. Neural filter. First time you click on the neural filter, it may take some time to come in. It needs to sort of set up your computer, I noticed. So don't be too concerned about that. And again, you need the latest version of Photoshop. So we have the face. Let's do the smart portrait and see what happens with the head turned this way. That we say, show me some happiness. And usually it puts some teeth in the mouth and changes the shape of the mouth. So as we watch this working through, and you notice there's a lot of white in the image and it's not picking that up. It's what's in the square here. Well, it did a fairly decent job. Notice what it did with her eyes. There we go. And here, brought up her cheek on this side. Watch that. Because as she smiles, her cheek would go up and this side would go up. The eyes would be a little different. She looks a little sad or calm. That looks a lot better. But let's do expressions and do surprise. And as it working on that, it does, I think, a fairly good job. A little bit of her teeth. So before, after, and look at the eyes. How much it has changed those to look as a surprise. I think that's really well done. Even with the head turned this way, because it's filling the square with the face, it knows what to do. I don't want to do age. Let me do head direction. Let's try that. Let's take it back the other way. See if it can change that even though it was there. It changed it a little bit from there to here. Not quite reasonable overall. You'd have to play with that a little bit. Let's take it the other way, but she's already turned that way, and see what it does. Now that I don't like that much at all. Look what it did with the mouth. It's actually doing it the way the head would look, and the mouth would go closer to that side of the face. But it's hard when you have a young woman that this is pretty, and you do that to it. It's not very appealing. But you saw what it did with things. So let's go back to colorize and play with just these again by contrast, and take it into Photoshop and lighten it a little bit. Blue. Right.
Hey, John, this is Jim again. Photoshop's kind of leading the way on the portrait alterations, right? No topaz or luminar.
They are. Photoshop is leading the way. I say that, yes, because I agree with that. And yet I think, come on, Photoshop or Adobe, you've done some really neat things here. Why not just hustle a little bit more and see what you can do? But yes, they are. More so, the luminar and topaz really are concentrating more on how to fix up an image related to dust marks, lines, power lines, and just with a click, and overall color, saturation, and things like that. Not as much facial aspects. I'm guessing they will get there. But let's see what we do with this. I didn't even play with this yesterday, so I don't know that it'll be able to do anything, but I thought, what a neat thing to try that. Turn this on for portrait, maybe. It's not even letting me turn on portrait. See, I can do color eyes, but it's not recognizing it as a portrait, so I can't do anything with it. If you click on some of one of these features, as I just did on the JPEG artifacts, if it's not there yet, it may need to load down. So that's what I was trying to do here to see if it's requiring you. Yes, see, I clicked on this super zoom and I click on the little cloud, it says it must be loaded down. And so it's downloading to my computer. So now that feature is installed on my computer. Same with skin smoothing. And that feature really works really well, really well. Click on the little down arrow in the cloud and it needs to download. And so it really is a good feature. Come back, let me see if I have. Well, it did something on that. So let's take that back in. Go to neural filter. Skin smoothing. Oh, it's not letting me do it. All right. Not that it did before, but it's not letting me do it. It's not recognizing that as a face. See here, it's turned off.
Would super zoom do anything, John?
Try that. Sure. So there's noise reduction, sharpening, enhance face details. Let me put that on. Let's do the before, after. Remove JPEG artifacts is what you would do to clean up an image that has some aspects of JPEG. Enhance. Not a lot of options in here other than this is noise reduction. Earlier talking with Michael Birnbaum, I agree that the Topaz noise reduction and Topaz sharpen are just superb. You need to reduce noise in an image, take it into one of those, take it into Topaz noise reduction AI, and it does a superb job. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, John.
Any questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right,
Thank you.
have a good weekend.
Quick question, John. If you download that once, do you have to do it again?
No, you don't. Once it's down,
Okay.
once it downloads from the cloud, what it's really doing is keeping the main software in the cloud, but putting on your computer and your software a link to know where to go get it. So you don't need to do it each time.
Okay, perfect.
Can I ask an unrelated question? Photoshop 2022. Did you have any
I think
particular
there's no
problem?
problem if I was downloading, updating something, Angel, on my Surface.
No. All right. leave
John,
it with
did you
me.
have any problem migrating your plugins to 2022?
I didn't have any issues with that. It all worked. Did you have a problem?
Well, Topaz AI and Topaz Sharpen, Topaz noise reduction AI,
Oh,
Sharpen
I
AI
see.
showed up,
I see.
but like Studio and some of the others didn't. And
Ah,
I've moved my plugins from 2021 to 2022 in terms of the file system, and that didn't seem to work. So I'm a little, I guess I'll have to go to Topaz and reinstall them. It's the only thing I can think of.
Well, think about this. When you are doing a plugin, let's say Studio is almost Photoshop. So I'm not sure that they operate. I don't know. I use that as a standalone rather than as a plugin because it has its own layers and all kinds of things that I do within Studio.
Well, it
And-
used to work in 2021. It worked. You
Oh,
know.
it did. I didn't know that. So I can't answer because I don't use them that way. In
Yeah.
fact, Gigapixel and denoise and sharpen, I use as standalones also.
I see.
And I will tell you, if you do Gigapixel, I suggest that you want to enlarge it very, very big, do 2x first, then do 2x another time rather than just do 4x. I'm sure the software is very good, but they're generating pixels at 2x. Then you would want them to generate pixels and keep it really sharp. I haven't compared in any way to see if I do it as 4x versus 2x and 2x twice to see. I haven't done it, but I'm just saying what I do is 2x and then 2x again if I want.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, thanks.
All right, all take care. Darcy and Peter, have a great
Thanks, John.
rest